To start off with, we have the redesigned admin page. Sugar's been getting away from what they call backwards compatible mode for some time now into the sidecar framework. And to match Sugar's updated look, the admin page now has an updated interface. It's very nice. As part of that updated admin page, they have admin search, which lets you very quickly search for what you're looking for, whether you're looking for studio or email settings or users. You can very quickly find those things. We now also have the functionality, and this has been asked for a very long time, to be able to copy user preferences, dashboards, and filters for other users. We do have to be careful because if we copy Justin's preferences or dashboards or filters over Denine's preferences, dashboards, or filters, it's going to overwrite everything she previously had. So this is mostly useful for new users if you want to get them set up with a lot of really nice, let's say, dashboards and filters, and you're cloning another sales user into a new sales user. That's a great use of it, but you have to be wary if you're doing it with existing users that are already set up the way they like. We then have a new functionality, drop-down conditional record view layouts. So the example that comes to mind at the top of my mind would be accounts of different types, let's say customers and prospects. You can have totally different fields depending on which type of account you are looking at. And we'll see that in just a little bit. It's now easier to translate your field labels in the studio. It actually shows you what a comparison language when you're doing that. And I'll show that in just a minute. There is a new Sugar Logic function. If you're doing a lot of forecasting, you can now choose whether you're going to forecast for closed won forecast stages, closed lost forecast stages, and or the open forecast stages. So that's an interesting way to create calculated fields. I haven't figured out a use for it yet, but if you have one, I'd love to hear about it. And then we have added Csp Directives. That stands for Content Security Policy Settings. I'm going to show this page and then talk a little bit more about what that might mean for you. So let's go ahead and bring Sugar back up here for a second. That's the wrong Sugar. This is the right Sugar. Let's go ahead and jump to our account page. You'll see it is now redesigned. It looks a lot sharper than it used to. And most importantly, we got rid of, if you ever pay attention to the URL, anything that is in backwards compatible mode would have a /BWC here. Now it just says / administration. So it looks a lot nicer. It has panels that we can look at. We also now have this admin search settings. So for example, if I wanted to modify drop downs, I could do that right here, and it's going to pop up drop-down editor. If I type in user, it's got a user management, import wizard, a lot of different options that have user somehow associated with them. I personally still prefer just doing the Control F studio, but that's out of force of habit because I've been doing that for so long. If we come into users here, I'm going to click on users. We now have the functionality where we can copy content or copy user settings. I'm going to go ahead and click on copy content first. Here, you can copy from user Jen Smith to specific users, to users on specific teams, or users on specific roles. So for example, if I had a role of salespeople and I set up one salesperson and I want to copy that to all the other salespeople, I could put that into the sales role here. Default teams is relatively straightforward. Every time a user creates a record, it's going to set the owner as their default teams. They can favorite some reports. You might have created a dozen reports for the sales team. You've clicked the star to favorite them. So every time they click the drop down, they're going to see their favorite records here. You can then have those show up. Navigation bar module selection. A lot of people don't know it, but if you come into the user profile, you can change the order and even what modules you see in the navigation bar. So you can copy that from one person to another. Notify on assignment is also a user preference. A user can go into their profile and choose whether they want to receive emails every time they're assigned a record by some other user. Reminder options for things like calendar entries, scheduled reports. If you have a sales report that goes out every Monday morning and you want all of your salespeople to get that, you can copy that scheduled report to all of those other people. And then Sugar email client, whether they use the Sugar email client or an external client like Outlook, you can get all of that data there. We also have copy user settings. Here, this is less like copying user settings, but more like mass updating. You can mass update the date format, what format they see, the time format, time zone, use wizard prompt, all these other good things, and send that to different users, teams, or roles. All right, the last thing I need to do is come back to my admin screen, which I think is here. I'm going to find my content security policy settings here. And what this does is, before we had this basic tab where we could add trusted domains. And this is very important if you are using any sort of iframe field or dashlet within Sugar CRM. And an example of that would be, you can create a field, a website field, that will show you the map of the lead's address just by filling in the field values in the studio. But Bing or Google or whatever map you're using, you need to allow that as a valid third-party website you can show within Sugar CRM. So you would do that here. Within the advanced tab, you can get into a lot of different things like fonts you can add, form actions. Most people will never use this, but it can be important if you're trying to embed some more advanced things like ERPs, accounting system, things like that, whether it's through a dashboard or, like I said, a website field. We internally embed dashboards that show our reporting engine from Zoho Reports, which stores a lot of data for us. So there's a lot of cool things you can do there.